The glass didn't just break. It exploded inward in a wave of heat and sound that knocked me flat on my back. My last coherent thought being that Tuesday night was going to be pissed, his session got interrupted. I lay there for maybe 3 seconds, ears ringing, lungs struggling to pull air through the smoke and dust. My brain was doing that funny thing where it tried to make sense of chaos by fixating on stupid details, like how the vintage lamp I'd salvaged from a thrift store was now in 17 pieces, or how the motivational poster that read, "Break things, not spirits," was on fire. Then instinct kicked in. I rolled onto my stomach, glass crunching under me, and army crawled toward the reinforced wall that separated the lobby from Smash Room 2. The wall where Tuesday night, real name unknown, occupation listed as corporate consultant, had been methodically destroying a printer when the world exploded. "Are you alive in there?" I shouted, my voice sounding weird and muffled through the ringing. The door burst open before I finished the question. He stepped through smoke like something out of an action movie, and I had the delirious thought that he looked better covered in drywall dust than most men looked in formal wear. Dark hair disheveled, jaw tight, those unsettling gray eyes scanning the wreckage with an intensity that made my stomach flip despite the whole potential death situation. "You're bleeding," he said, his voice that low rasp that had always slid under my skin during our sessions. "You're observant." I pushed myself up to sitting, ignoring the sting of a dozen tiny cuts. What the hell just happened? He moved toward me with frightening efficiency, pulling a phone from his pocket. Not to call 911, I noticed. He was texting someone with the kind of speed that suggested this wasn't his first explosion. "My car," he said simply. I blinked. "Someone bombed your car? In my parking lot?" "Appears so." The casual tone made something hot and sharp lance through my chest. I'd built breakpoint rage room from nothing, scraped together loans, dealt with endless city permits, poured every dollar an hour into creating a space where people could safely destroy things, instead of their lives or relationships. And this man, this beautiful, mysterious client who showed up every Tuesday at 10 p.m. and paid cash for extended sessions, had just brought a literal bomb to my door. "Get away from the windows," he said, pocketing his phone and closing the distance between us. "There are no windows left to—" He picked me up, just straight up lifted me like I weighed nothing, one arm under my knees and one behind my back, and carried me toward the reinforced storage area in the back. I should have protested, should have demanded answers, should have done literally anything except notice how his heart was beating steady and slow against my ribs. Like car bombs were just another Tuesday for him. "I can walk," I managed. "You have glass." "In your leg." I looked down. He was right. A shard about 2 inches long was sticking out of my calf, and now that I saw it, it hurt like hell. "Oh, that's not ideal." The corner of his mouth twitched. Even now, even covered in disaster, he almost smiled at my understatement. It was the same expression he got during our sessions when I made dark jokes about his murder fantasies, while handing him sledgehammers. He set me down on a plastic crate in the storage room, then crouched in front of me, examining the glass. His fingers were careful as they touched my leg just above the wound, and I tried very hard not to think about how this was the first time he'd touched me outside of accidental brushes when I handed him safety equipment. "This is going to hurt," he said. "Most things do." He pulled the glass out in one smooth motion. I hissed through my teeth, and his free hand landed on my knee. Steadying or comforting, I couldn't tell which. "You need stitches," he said, already pulling off his shirt. I had approximately 1 second to process the fact that Tuesday night had the kind of body that explained why he never seemed winded after demolishing entire rooms. And then he was tearing the shirt into strips and wrapping my leg with practiced efficiency. "You know field medicine," I said, because apparently my brain's crisis response was to state obvious things. "I know a lot of things, Tessa." The way he said my name made electricity skitter down my spine. He'd never used it before. In 6 months of weekly sessions, he'd been Tuesday night, and I'd been the boss, or the safety officer, or occasionally the comedian. "How do you know my name?" "It's on your business license, on the wall, which you've never looked at before tonight." "I look at everything." He tied off the makeshift bandage and stood, pulling out his phone again as it buzzed. His jaw tightened as he read whatever message had come through. "How many exits does this building have?" 2. Front and back. Why? Because in about 90 seconds, a lot of people are going to arrive, and you need to decide right now how much you want to tell them. My heart kicked against my ribs. Tell who? The police? I'm going to tell them someone bombed your car in my parking lot and destroyed my business. My associates will be here first. Associates. The word hung in the smoky air like a confession. I thought about the way he moved, the scars I'd glimpsed on his knuckles, the fact that he always paid cash and never gave a last name, the way he'd reacted to an explosion with texting instead of panic. You're not a corporate consultant, I said slowly. No, you're a criminal. That's a broad term. He stepped closer, and I had to tilt my head back to hold his gaze. But yes, I should have been terrified. Should have been screaming or running or calling the real police myself. Instead, I felt weirdly calm, like some part of me had always known that normal men didn't have eyes that cold or rage that controlled. What kind of criminal brings a bomb to a rage room? The kind who didn't know his enemies would be brave enough to try this. His voice went flat, dangerous. The kind who's about to make them regret that bravery. Outside, I heard tires squealing. Multiple vehicles. These associates, I said, are they going to hurt me? He looked at me like I'd asked if the sun would rise. No. How can you be sure? Because I'll kill anyone who tries. He said it the way normal people said they'd grab coffee. Simple, factual, inevitable. The front door, or what was left of it, crashed open. Heavy footsteps, multiple sets, moving fast through the wreckage. Luca, a voice shouted. You hit, Luca. So that was his real name. I'm fine, he called back, his eyes never leaving mine. We have a civilian, injured but stable. 3 men appeared in the storage room doorway, and I understood immediately that these were not people you called for help unless you lived in a very specific world. They wore expensive clothes that didn't match their faces. Hard, scarred, the kind of faces that had seen things and done worse. Get Matteo, Lucas said to the youngest one. Tell him I need a cleanup crew and a medic. Discreet. Boss, the cops are going to... I'll handle the cops. He finally looked away from me, and I felt the loss of his attention like a physical thing. Gio, I want eyes on every camera within 4 blocks. Someone saw who planted this. The men scattered with military efficiency. Luca turned back to me, and something in his expression had changed. Softened, maybe, though that seemed impossible for a face made of sharp edges. I'm sorry, he said. For the bomb? Because unless you planted it yourself, I'm not sure you get to apologize for other people's murder attempts. For bringing this to your door, he crouched again, eye level with me now. You built something good here. I respected that. Came here because it was separate from everything else, safe. And now it's not. No. He reached out, his fingers brushing a cut on my cheekbone so gently I barely felt it. Now you're in danger because of me. I should have told him to leave. Should have demanded he walk out and never come back. Take his violence and his enemies and his beautiful broken intensity somewhere else. Instead, I heard myself say, So what are you going to do about it? His eyes went molten. Everything. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Lucas stood, pulling me up with him, careful of my injured leg. The police are going to ask questions. You can tell them the truth, that you run a rage room, that I'm a client, that you don't know why someone would target my vehicle. You can give them my name, Luca Morello. I filed that away, Morello. It sounded Italian, old family probably. And what will you tell them? The same truth, but simpler. He steadied me as I swayed slightly. I'll also tell them that until this is resolved, you're under my protection. I don't remember asking for your protection. You didn't, but you're getting it anyway. He guided me toward the front, where flashing lights were now painting the wreckage in red and blue. Because the people who did this will realize very quickly that they failed to kill me, and when they do, they'll start looking for other ways to hurt me. And you think I'm one of those ways. I know you are. The certainty in his voice should have scared me. Instead, it made something hot and reckless unfurl in my chest. A woman in a police uniform was stepping through the destroyed entrance, her hand on her weapon, eyes scanning for threats. Luca's hand found the small of my back, possessive, protective, a silent message to everyone watching. "Let me do the talking," he murmured against my ear, his breath warm on my skin. "Trust me for the next 10 minutes, and then you can decide if you want to tell me to go to hell." I looked at the ruins of my business, at the blood on my leg and the ash in the air, at the man who'd brought chaos to my careful, controlled world of sanctioned destruction. 10 minutes, I agreed. His hand pressed firmer against my back, and I knew with absolute certainty that those 10 minutes were going to change everything. The detective was going to ask what I'd seen, and I was going to lie for the first time in my life, for a man whose last name I'd learned 5 minutes ago, whose real profession I'd just discovered, whose touch made my pulse race even as my business burned. I was going to lie, and something told me it wouldn't be the last time. The detective's name was Sarah Reeves, and she had the kind of tired eyes that said she'd seen too many crime scenes to be shocked by exploded cars and shattered storefronts. "So let me get this straight," she said, flipping through her notebook. "Mr. Morello here is a regular client at your rage room business. Someone planted a bomb in his vehicle. You were inside when it detonated, and neither of you saw or heard anything suspicious beforehand." "That's correct," Lucas said, his voice perfectly calm, perfectly reasonable. I nodded, trying to look like someone who was just a small business owner, caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. Not someone who could feel the heat of Lucas' palm still burning through the back of my shirt. Not someone whose entire body was hyper-aware of how close he was standing. Detective Reeves looked at me. "And you have no idea why someone would target Mr. Morello?" "I run a rage room, detective. People come here to smash things when they're angry. I don't ask them why they're angry or who they're angry at. Client confidentiality. This isn't therapy. No, but it's therapeutic." I gestured at the wreckage around us. Or it was. She wrote something down, and I couldn't tell if she believed me or was just tired enough not to care. "We'll need to see your client records, appointment logs, payment receipts." "Of course," I said, because refusing would look suspicious. "Though most of my clients pay cash." "How convenient." Her gaze slid to Luca. "Mr. Morello, I'm going to need you to come down to the station, answer some questions." "Am I under arrest?" "Should you be?" The air between them crackled with unspoken things. Luca smiled, and it was the kind of smile that made grown men step back. "I'm happy to cooperate, detective. But I'd like to make sure Ms. Ward gets medical attention first. She's injured. Paramedics are outside. I'd prefer my personal physician." "I'm sure you would." Detective Reeves closed her notebook. "Ms. Ward, you're free to go. We'll be in touch if we have more questions." I started to move toward the door, but my leg buckled. Luca caught me instantly, his arm around my waist, taking my weight like I was nothing. "Careful," he murmured. Detective Reeves watched us with the expression of someone filing away details for later. "Mr. Morello, the station, 2 hours. I'll be there." She left, and suddenly we were alone in the ruins of my business, except for 2 of Luca's men standing guard by what used to be the entrance. "You need to sit down," Lucas said. "I need to figure out what the hell I'm going to do." I pulled away from him, testing my leg. It hurt, but it held. "My insurance doesn't cover acts of terrorism, or whatever this was. I have a business loan due in 3 weeks. And now I'm lying to the police for a man I don't even know. You know me. I know Tuesday night. The guy who shows up at 10 p.m. and destroys printers while barely speaking. I don't know Luca Morello, the guy who has people plant bombs in his car. They didn't plant it in my car," he said quietly. "They planted it under my car. There's a difference." "Oh well, that makes me feel so much better." He stepped closer, and I hated how my body reacted. Pulse jumping, skin heating, every nerve ending suddenly awake and paying attention. "Tessa." My name in his mouth was dangerous. I meant what I said. "You're under my protection now." I didn't ask. "It doesn't matter. The people who did this know I come here. They'll assume you matter to me." "Do I?" The question came out before I could stop it, and his eyes went dark. "Yes." One word. It shouldn't have meant anything. It shouldn't have made my stomach flip and my breath catch. "You don't know me either," I said. "I know you make jokes when you're scared. I know you built this place because you believe people deserve safe spaces to fall apart." I know you work too hard for too little money because you care more about helping people than profit. He reached out, his fingers brushing my jaw, where a cut was still bleeding slightly. I know you're brave enough to lie to the police when you probably shouldn't. Maybe I'm just stupid. You're not stupid. You're calculating odds. His thumb traced my cheekbone, feather light, deciding if trusting me is more dangerous than not trusting me. He was right, and I hated it. A black Mercedes pulled up outside, sleek and expensive and completely out of place in my working-class neighborhood. That's Mateo, Lucas said. My doctor. He'll stitch your leg properly. I can go to the ER, where you'll wait 4 hours and answer more questions you don't want to answer. He guided me toward the car, his hand on my lower back again. Let me handle this, Tessa. Let me fix what I broke. You didn't break it. I brought the wrong enemies to your door. That's the same thing. The doctor was exactly what I expected. Middle-aged, professional, with the kind of face that gave nothing away. He examined my leg in the back seat of the Mercedes, cleaned the wound with efficient movements, and had me stitched up in less than 15 minutes. No signs of infection, he said. Keep it clean, change the dressing twice a day. You'll have a scar. Add it to the collection, I muttered. Luca's gaze sharpened. Collection? I wasn't about to tell him about my father, about growing up in a house where rage wasn't therapeutic. It was survival, where I learned to read moods and diffuse situations and make myself small. Figure of speech, I said. He didn't believe me, but he didn't push. Mateo left, and suddenly it was just Luca and me in the back of a very expensive car, the driver discreetly not looking at us through the rearview mirror. I need to go to the station, Luca said, but I'm not leaving you here. I have an apartment that anyone with basic internet skills could find in 10 minutes. He pulled out his phone, typed something. You're staying somewhere secure tonight. You can't just... I can, and I am. He looked at me, and there was something fierce in his expression. They tried to kill me outside your business, Tessa. They failed. When they realize that, they'll start looking for other ways to hurt me, and you're now on that list whether you like it or not. Because you touched me? Carried me? Because I looked at you the way I did. His voice dropped. Because anyone with eyes could see that you're not just a client service to me. My heart hammered against my ribs. And what am I? That's what we're both going to figure out. He leaned forward, spoke to the driver. Take her to the penthouse. Full security. No one in or out without my approval. Wait. I'll be there in 3 hours. 4 at most. He opened the car door, paused. There's food, clothes that should fit. Everything you need. Make yourself at home. Luca? He kissed my forehead. It was quick, chaste, nothing like the heated touches in romance novels. But it burned through me like wildfire, left me speechless and staring as he climbed out of the car and walked toward one of his men. The Mercedes pulled away from the curb, and I watched through the back window as Luca Morello, criminal, client, stranger who knew my name, disappeared into the night. The penthouse was ridiculous, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, furniture that probably cost more than my entire year's revenue, a kitchen with appliances I didn't recognize, and a wine collection that could fund my business loan twice over. I stood in the massive living room, still wearing my ash-covered clothes, my leg throbbing, my mind racing. This was insane. I should call someone, my sister, maybe, or a lawyer, or anyone who could tell me that getting into a car with a self-admitted criminal was a terrible idea. Instead, I found the bathroom. It was larger than my bedroom at home, all marble and rainfall showers and a tub that could fit 3 people. Someone, probably whoever Luca had texted, had left clothes on the counter. Soft leggings, an oversized sweater, fresh bandages. I peeled off my ruined clothes and stepped into the shower. The hot water stung every cut, washed away blood and glass dust and the smell of smoke. I stood there until my skin was pink and my muscles started to unknot. And then I stood there longer, trying to process what had happened. Someone had tried to kill Luca. My business was destroyed. I'd lied to the police. I was in a stranger's penthouse wearing his clothes. And the worst part, the absolutely terrifying part, was that some reckless piece of me didn't want to run. I got out, dried off, changed into the clothes that fit perfectly, too perfectly. like he'd somehow known my exact size. My phone buzzed. I'd grabbed it from the wreckage before getting in the car, and now it showed 17 missed calls from my sister and a string of increasingly worried texts. I called her back. Tessa. Oh my God, I saw the news. They said there was an explosion at Breakpoint. Are you okay? I'm fine, Jules. Just some cuts. Some cuts? Tessa, the building is… I saw the photos online. I know. I sank onto the massive sectional couch. I was there when it happened. What happened? They're saying it was a car bomb? Yeah, a client's car. Jesus. Do the police know who? They're investigating. The lie came easier the second time. Look, I'm safe. I'm staying somewhere secure tonight. I'll call you tomorrow, okay? Where? Tessa, you're scaring me. I'm fine, I promise. I just need to sleep. She made me promise 3 more times before she let me hang up. I sat there in the enormous silence of Luca's penthouse, watching the city lights blur through windows that probably cost more than my car. My business was gone. Not completely, the structure was still standing, but it would take months and money I didn't have to rebuild. The insurance company would fight me. The landlord would probably use this as an excuse to terminate my lease. Everything I'd built was ash and broken glass. And the man who'd brought destruction to my door was the same man who made my pulse race and my logic short-circuit. I should hate him. I should be planning my escape, calling a lawyer, figuring out how to distance myself from whatever criminal empire he ran. Instead, I was wearing his clothes and waiting for him to come back. The door opened around 2 a.m. I'd fallen asleep on the couch, but I jerked awake at the sound, my heart racing, some animal part of my brain screaming danger before I remembered where I was. Luca stood in the doorway, suit jacket gone, shirt sleeves rolled up, looking exhausted in a way that made him somehow more human. You're still awake, he said. I was asleep. You woke me up. Sorry, he moved into the room, loosening his tie. How's your leg? Hurts. How was the police station? Tedious. He poured himself a drink from a crystal decanter, held it up in question. I nodded, and he poured a second glass. He handed it to me, then sat on the opposite end of the couch, close enough to talk, far enough to be respectful. It was whiskey, smooth and expensive, burning warm down my throat. They're calling it gang violence, he said. Rival factions. Detective Reeves doesn't believe it, but she can't prove otherwise. And you're not going to help her prove it. No. We sat in silence for a moment, drinking expensive whiskey in a penthouse that felt like a different planet from my tiny apartment. I need to know what I'm in, I said finally. If I'm in danger, I need to know why and from who. The Santori family. He stared into his glass. They've been pushing into my territory for 6 months. This was their opening move. Their opening move was a car bomb. They're not subtle. His jaw tightened. They're also not smart. Bombing a civilian business is going to bring heat they can't handle. So what happens now? Now I make them regret it. He looked at me, and there was something cold and final in his expression. But that's my problem, not yours. Except it is my problem. You said so yourself. They'll think I matter to you. Yes. So what am I supposed to do? Hide in your penthouse forever? Until it's resolved. I laughed, sharp and bitter. I have a business to rebuild. Bills to pay. A life. Your business is a crime scene. Your bills. He set down his glass. I'll handle your bills. No. Tessa. No. I stood up, ignoring the pull in my leg. I'm not some damsel you get to throw money at. I built Breakpoint myself. I'll rebuild it myself. With what? You said your insurance won't cover this. I'll figure it out. I always do. He stood too, and suddenly we were too close. The air between us charged with something dangerous. Let me help you, he said quietly. Why? Because you feel guilty? Because I respect what you built. He stepped closer. Because I've spent 6 months watching you turn broken, angry people into something better. Because you never once looked at me like I was a monster, even when I probably deserved it. I didn't know what you were. Yes, you did. His hand came up, fingers ghosting along my jaw. Maybe not the details, but you knew I wasn't just some corporate consultant with anger issues. You're too smart not to have known. He was right, and I hated it. I'd known something was different about him. Known from the way he moved, the way he spoke, the careful way he never gave real answers about his life. I'd known, and I'd let him keep coming back anyway. "What do you want from me?" I whispered. His thumb brushed my lower lip, and my breath caught. "Right now, I want you to sleep somewhere safe. Eat breakfast tomorrow without worrying about who might be watching. Let me handle the Centaurs while you figure out what comes next." His eyes were molten silver in the dim light. "Later, I want things I shouldn't." "Like what?" "Like you in my bed." His voice dropped to gravel. "Like your smart mouth saying my name while I make you forget every reason this is a bad idea." Heat pooled low in my stomach, my pulse thundering in my ears. "That's a terrible idea," I managed. "I know. You're a criminal." "Yes. I should run as far from you as possible." "Probably." His hand slid into my hair, gentle but possessive. "Are you going to?" I should say yes. Should pull away, call a cab, disappear back into my normal life, and pretend Tuesday night had never existed. Instead, I said, "Ask me again when people aren't trying to kill you." His smile was slow and devastating. "Deal." He stepped back, and I could breathe again. "Guest room is second door on the left," he said. "Lock if it makes you feel safer." "Will it actually keep you out?" "No, but I won't come in unless you ask." He left me standing there, heart racing, skin burning where he'd touched me. I made it to the guest room, which was larger and nicer than my entire apartment, and locked the door anyway. Then I lay in a bed that cost more than my car and stared at the ceiling, replaying every word, every touch, every heated look. Tomorrow I'd figure out my life, figure out how to rebuild Breakpoint, how to handle the police, how to survive in a world where car bombs and mafia bosses were suddenly real. Tonight, I let myself admit the truth I'd been avoiding. I didn't want to run from Luca Morello. I wanted to run straight toward him and damn the consequences. I woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of male voices arguing in Italian. For a confused moment, I thought I was back in my apartment, that the explosion had been a nightmare. Then I opened my eyes and saw the guest room, all clean lines and expensive linens, and remembered. Car bomb, Luca Morello, mafia boss, penthouse. I want you in my bed. I sat up too fast, and my leg protested. The stitches pulled, a sharp reminder that last night had been very, very real. The voices got louder. I couldn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. Someone was pissed, and someone else wasn't backing down. I got dressed in yesterday's borrowed clothes and limped toward the kitchen. Luca stood by the marble counter, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Italian that sounded like barely controlled fury. He was wearing different clothes. Dark jeans, a black Henley that showed off arms I'd only glimpsed before, and he looked dangerous in a way the suits had hidden. 2 other men sat at the breakfast bar. One was young, maybe mid-20s, with nervous energy that screamed new recruit. The other was older, scarred, with the kind of face that had seen everything and been unimpressed. All 3 turned when I walked in. Luca ended his call mid-sentence. "You should be resting." I slept enough. I moved toward the coffee pot, hyper-aware of 3 sets of eyes tracking me. "Is everything okay?" "No," the older man said. "Everything is very much not okay." "Gio," Lucas said, his voice a warning. "She should know." Gio turned to me, and his expression was almost pitying. "The Santoris hit 2 of our businesses last night. A restaurant in Little Italy, a construction site in Bridgeport. Burned both to the ground." My stomach dropped. "Why?" "Because they're sending a message." Luca poured coffee into a mug, handed it to me. "They want war." "And you're going to give it to them," I said quietly. "I'm going to end this before more people get hurt." The younger guy, I didn't catch his name, shifted uncomfortably. "Boss, if we hit them back hard enough." "We're not hitting anything yet," Lucas said. "We're thinking." "Thinking?" Gio stood up, and there was real anger in his posture. "They blew up your car, targeted you in a civilian location, burned our assets. And you want to think?" "I want to be smart." Luca's voice went cold. "Unlike the Santoris. Smart got us here." Gio gestured sharply. "Your father would have..." "My father is dead because he acted without thinking." The words came out flat, final. "I'm not making that mistake." The room went silent. I sipped my coffee and tried to be invisible, but Luca looked at me, and something in his expression softened. "Give us the room," he said to his men. They left without argument, though Gio shot me a look that said he blamed me for something. When we were alone, Luca moved closer. "How's your leg?" "Fine. Are you really going to war over this?" "I'm going to protect what's mine." He said it casually, but there was steel underneath. "That includes you. I'm not yours. Tell that to the Santoris." He pulled out his phone, showed me a photo. It was Breakpoint's exterior wall, the one facing the alley. Someone had spray-painted a message in red. "Morello's whore." The coffee turned to acid in my stomach. "When was this taken?" "This morning, 3 a.m. He put the phone away. "They know who you are, Tessa. They know you matter. Because you made me matter." Anger spiked through me, hot and sharp. "You came to my business every week, looked at me like I stopped. They think I'm sleeping with you. Yes, but I'm not. Yet." The word hung between us, dangerous and electric. But they don't know that, and honestly, it wouldn't matter if they did. The fact that I want to is enough. So what am I supposed to do? Hide here forever while you two play gangster games that get real people killed? It's not a game. He stepped closer, and I hated how my body responded. Pulse jumping, skin heating. "This is my life, my world. And you're in it now, whether either of us planned for it. I didn't ask for this. I know." His hand came up, tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. "I'm sorry. Stop apologizing and fix it." "I'm trying." His thumb brushed my cheekbone. "But fixing it means doing things you probably don't want to know about." "Like what? Killing people?" His jaw tightened. "I don't kill unless there's no other option." "That's not a no. No, it's not." I should have been terrified. Should have been calling the police, a lawyer, anyone who could get me away from this man and his world of bombs and spray-painted threats. Instead, I heard myself ask, "What's the other option?" "I make them regret targeting you more than they'd regret backing down." He pulled his hand back, and I missed the warmth immediately. "I make it clear that touching you means war they can't win. I give them a way out that preserves their pride while protecting you." "How?" "That's what I'm figuring out." He moved to the window, stared out at the city. "The Santoris are old school. They respect strength, but they also respect rules. They broke the rules by bombing a civilian business. I can use that." "How does that help me?" "It means I can end this without a bloodbath." He turned back to me. "But it also means you need to stay here, stay safe, stay hidden." "For how long?" "A week, maybe less. I have a business. That's a crime scene and a construction zone." His voice gentled. "Tessa, I know this isn't what you want, but right now, the safest thing for you is to let me handle this." My phone buzzed. I pulled it out and saw my landlord's name. The voicemail he'd left was short and brutal. The building inspector had red-tagged Breakpoint. Between the bomb damage and safety concerns, I was shut down indefinitely. He was terribly sorry, but he'd have to terminate my lease if I couldn't reopen within 30 days. I played it on speaker without thinking. Luca's expression went dark. He can't do that. He just did. I set the phone down before I threw it. 30 days. Even if I had the money to rebuild, I can't get permits and repairs done in 30 days. I can. No. Tessa. I said no. I limped toward the living room, needing space, needing air. I'm not taking your money. I'm not becoming your kept woman or your charity case or whatever this is. He followed me. It's not charity. It's fixing what I broke. You didn't break it. I brought the bomb to your door. His voice rose, the first real crack in his control I'd seen. I came to your business every week knowing I had enemies, knowing that anyone I spent time with became a target. And I did it anyway because being near you felt like... He stopped, jaw working. Felt like what? I demanded. Peace. The word came out rough. Like I could put down the weight for an hour and just break things without consequence. Like I could be angry without being a monster. He moved closer, and there was something raw in his eyes. You made me feel human, Tessa, and that made you dangerous to the people who want me dead. My breath caught. That's not fair. None of this is fair. He reached for me, then stopped himself. But I'm asking you anyway. Let me help. Let me rebuild your business properly. Better security, better equipment, enough money that you never have to choose between paying rent and paying yourself. And what do I owe you for that? Nothing. Luca, I'm not asking for anything except the chance to fix this. His hand finally touched my face, cradling my jaw like I was something precious. But if you want to give me something, give me honesty. Tell me you don't feel this thing between us. Tell me you don't think about me the way I think about you. Tell me I'm alone in this, and I'll back off. I should lie. Should protect myself from whatever this was, this dangerous, impossible pull toward a man who lived in violence and called it business. But I'd never been good at lying. I can't, I whispered. His eyes went molten. Can't what? Tell you I don't feel it. My hand came up, fingers curling in his shirt. I think about you all the time. About how you move, how you watch me when you think I'm not looking. About what it would feel like if you... He kissed me. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate and claiming. His hand sliding into my hair, angling my head exactly where he wanted it. His other arm banded around my waist, pulling me flush against him. And I could feel his heart hammering as fast as mine. I kissed him back with 6 months of wondering, of watching him destroy rooms with controlled fury, of feeling his eyes on me like a physical touch. His tongue swept into my mouth, and I made a sound I'd never made before. Half gasp, half plea. He swallowed it, backed me up against the window, his body caging mine. Tessa, he growled against my mouth. Tell me to stop. No. His laugh was dark and pleased. Dangerous answer. I'm done being safe. He kissed me again, harder, his hand sliding down to grip my hip. I felt him everywhere, his chest against mine, his thigh between my legs, his breath hot on my neck as he trailed kisses down my throat. 6 months, he murmured against my skin. 6 months of watching you smile and joke and make order out of chaos. 6 months of wanting to know if you taste as good as I imagined. And I managed, my fingers digging into his shoulders. Better. He bit down gently where my neck met my shoulder, and I gasped. So much better. His phone rang. He ignored it, kissing me like he was trying to memorize the shape of my mouth. It rang again. Luca, I breathed. Don't care. It might be important. He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes, and what I saw there made my stomach flip. Raw need, barely leashed control. Something that looked dangerously close to obsession. Nothing is more important than this, he said. The phone rang a third time. He cursed in Italian and pulled it out, his other arm still locked around me. What? He snapped. I watched his expression change, heat to ice in seconds. When? A pause. Where is she now? Another pause. Longer. I'm on my way. He hung up and looked at me, and I knew before he said it that something had gone very, very wrong. What happened? The Santoris just grabbed my sister. The car ride was silent except for Luca's clipped phone conversations in Italian. I'd insisted on coming, stupid probably. But the alternative was sitting in his penthouse, wondering if he was going to get himself killed. Tell me about your sister, I said, when he ended another call. Sophia, 26. She runs a gallery in the arts district. His hands were white-knuckled on his phone. She's not part of this world. I kept her separate. Safe. Like you tried to keep me separate? Yes. He looked at me, and there was guilt and fury warring in his expression. And I failed both of you. You didn't fail me. They spray-painted whore on your building. I've been called worse. I reached across the seat, covered his hand with mine. How do we get her back? We don't, I do. He pulled his hand away gently. You stay in the car with Gio. You stay safe. Luca? This isn't negotiable, Tessa. His voice was pure command. The Santoris are expecting me. They're not expecting you. The safest thing for both of us is for you to stay hidden. The car pulled up to a warehouse in the industrial district. The kind of place where bad things happened and nobody called the police. Luca got out, but before he closed the door, he looked at me. If something goes wrong, he said quietly, if I don't come back out, Gio will take you somewhere safe. He'll make sure you have everything you need to rebuild Breakpoint. I've already arranged it. Don't talk like that. I'm being realistic. He leaned in, kissed me once, hard and fast and tasting of goodbye. Stay in the car, Tessa, no matter what you hear. He was gone before I could respond. Gio slid into the driver's seat, and we sat in tense silence, watching Luca walk toward the warehouse flanked by two of his men. He's going to do something stupid, Gio said after a minute. What do you mean? The Santoris want a show of weakness, an apology. Morello bowing down. Gio's jaw was tight. He won't do it. He'll offer them something else, and if they don't take it, this ends bloody. What could he offer? Territory, money, maybe himself in exchange for Sofia. Gio glanced at me. That's what I'd do if someone took my sister. My stomach twisted. He wouldn't. He's been different since he started coming to your place. Gio's voice was carefully neutral, calmer, more controlled, but also more human, more willing to make exceptions. He paused. I don't know if that's good or bad yet. It's good. Tell that to his enemies. Gio checked his weapon, chambered around. They see humanity as weakness. We waited. 5 minutes felt like hours. Then I heard it, a gunshot from inside the warehouse. No, I breathed. Stay in the car, Gio ordered. But he was already moving, door open, weapon raised. I should have listened. Should have stayed safe like Luca told me to. Instead, I thought about his sister, 26, ran a gallery, not part of this world. And I thought about how I'd feel if someone grabbed my sister Jules. I thought about Luca walking in there expecting to trade himself for her. And I got out of the car. The warehouse smelled like oil and rust, and something metallic that made my stomach turn. I slipped through a side door Gio had left cracked, probably an accident, maybe on purpose, and found myself in shadows and steel scaffolding. Voices echoed from the main floor. I crept closer, staying low, my heart hammering so hard I was sure someone would hear it. Absolutely no right to take her, Luca was saying, his voice Arctic calm. Sofia is a civilian. She has nothing to do with our business. And the girl who runs the smash room. A different voice, older, with an accent that sounded Sicilian. She's a civilian too, but you made her part of this. I visit a business. That's not the same as... You look at her like she's oxygen. The Sicilian voice hardened. Don't insult my intelligence, Morello. We've been watching. You care about that girl, which means she's leverage. I peered around a metal beam and saw them. Luca stood in the center of the warehouse floor, flanked by two of his men. Across from him were 5 Santoris, I assumed, based on the expensive suits and the way they held themselves like they owned the world. And off to the side, tied to a chair, was a young woman with dark hair and Luca's eyes. Sofia. She looked terrified but unharmed, and relief flooded through me so fast I almost made a sound. Here's what's going to happen, the older Santori said. He was silver-haired, 60s maybe, with the kind of face that had probably been handsome before violence carved it into something harder. You're going to give us Little Italy, all of it. The restaurants, the protection contracts, everything. No, Luca said simply. Then your sister dies. If you kill her, I'll burn your entire operation to the ground. Luca's voice didn't rise, didn't crack. I'll salt the earth where your businesses stood. I'll make sure your name becomes synonymous with failure. Your father will roll in his grave, knowing you destroyed the family over pride. The Santori tensed. Careful how you speak about my father. I'm speaking truth. Luca took a step forward. You're making the same mistake he did, escalating when you should be consolidating. The feds are already watching both our families. You think a gang war won't bring them down on all of us? The feds can be managed. Like your father managed them? Luca's smile was sharp. How'd that work out? The gunshot I'd heard earlier suddenly made sense. Someone had fired a warning shot, probably into the ceiling. You've got balls, Morello. I'll give you that. The silver-haired Santori circled slowly. But balls don't save your sister. No, but a deal might. Luca's shoulders were tight, controlled. Let Sofia go. Leave Tessa Ward alone. And I'll give you the construction contracts in Bridgeport. Not enough. It's $3 million a year in guaranteed income, plus legitimate city connections you don't have. The Santoris exchanged glances. And the girl, the older one asked, is off limits, permanently. You touch her, look at her wrong, breathe near her business, and the deal is void. You'd start a war over some nobody who runs what did you call it, a smash room? Yes. Lucas said it with absolute certainty. I would burn everything we've both built over her. So I suggest you take the deal and let me keep her safe. My breath caught. He was negotiating away millions of dollars. For me. Interesting, the Santori said. She must be special. She is. Special enough that you'd trade your sister's life for hers? The question hung in the air like poison. Luca's jaw worked. Let Sophia go first. Then we talk terms. No, terms first, then releases. The Santori pulled out a gun, casually, like he was checking his phone. Or I shoot the girl in the smash room, and we see how special she really is. He wasn't looking at Sophia. He was looking at me. At some point, while I crept closer, I'd moved too far out of the shadows. I'd been seen. Everything happened at once. Luca spun, his face going white when he saw me standing there like an idiot in the shadows. The Santoris raised weapons. Gio appeared from somewhere, shouting. And I did the only thing I could think of. I ran. Not away. Towards Sophia. I hit the ground sliding, years of rage room safety training kicking in. Stay low, protect your head, move fast. A bullet sparked off the concrete where I'd been standing. Tessa, Luca's roar was pure fury and fear. I reached Sophia's chair, started working the ropes with shaking hands. Who the hell are you? She gasped. Tessa, friend of your brother's, kind of. I got one wrist free. Can you run? Yes. Another gunshot. Closer. Luca was moving, his men were moving, everyone was shouting. And I yanked the last rope free just as someone grabbed my arm. Silver-haired Santori. He hauled me up, arm around my throat, gun to my temple. Everyone stops, or she dies, he announced. The warehouse went silent. Luca froze mid-step, his weapon raised but useless. His eyes met mine, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Pure, undiluted terror. Let her go, he said, and his voice shook. This is between us. No. You made it about her when you walked into my territory every Tuesday night like a lovesick fool. The Santori's arm tightened. Here's the new deal. You give me Little Italy and Bridgeport. You publicly acknowledge that the Santoris are the dominant family. And maybe, I let both these girls walk out of here. Done, Luca said immediately. Luca, no, I started. Shut up, he said, still staring at the Santori. You have my word. I'll sign whatever you want. Just let them go. Your word, the Santori laughed. Your father's word meant something. Yours? You're soft, weak. You let a woman make you stupid. Then I'm stupid. Luca lowered his weapon slowly. But I'm also a man who keeps his promises. Let them go, and you get everything you asked for. The Santori considered this. His grip loosened slightly. And I remembered something Luca had said once, months ago, during a session where I'd asked him why he came to Breakpoint, instead of just hitting someone. Violence without strategy is just rage. Rage without control destroys everything, including yourself. I'd thought it was philosophy. Now I understood. It was survival. The Santori wasn't going to let us go. He was going to take Luca's deal and then kill us anyway, because leaving witnesses was stupid, and he didn't think Luca would retaliate if we were already dead. But he'd miscalculated one thing. I wasn't a weapon. I was a person who had spent 3 years teaching angry people how to destroy things safely. I knew exactly where to strike to make someone let go. I slammed my head back into his nose, drove my elbow into his solar plexus, and dropped my weight straight down. His gun went off, into the ceiling, not my head, and I hit the ground rolling. Sophia, run, I screamed. She did. And then chaos exploded. Gunfire, shouting, bodies moving. I covered my head and tried to make myself small, every instinct screaming that I was about to die in a warehouse because I couldn't follow simple instructions. Strong hands grabbed me. Don't shoot, Luca's voice, hoarse. I have her. He pulled me up and behind him in one motion, his body a shield, his gun firing twice toward the Santoris. Stay behind me, he ordered. Is Sophia? Gio has her. Move! He half dragged, half carried me toward a side exit, firing covering shots. his men doing the same. We burst out into daylight, and he shoved me into the back seat of a car where Sophia was already waiting, pale and shaking. "Go," Lucas shouted to the driver. "What about you?" I grabbed his shirt. "I'm finishing this." He kissed me, hard and fast and tasting like desperation. "Stay alive, Tessa. That's an order." He slammed the door and the car peeled out. I twisted to look back and saw Lucas standing in the warehouse entrance, silhouetted against smoke and violence, and every cell in my body screamed to go back. Sophia grabbed my hand. "He'll be okay. He's always okay." "You don't know that." "I know my brother." She squeezed my fingers. "And I know he just traded everything he's built for two women who weren't supposed to matter. So we better survive, because if we don't, he'll never forgive himself." The safe house was actually a luxury condo in a building with security that would make the Secret Service jealous. Sophia and I sat in tense silence for 2 hours. She'd stopped shaking after the first 30 minutes, but her eyes were still too wide, her breathing too shallow. "I'm sorry," I said finally. "For what?" "Getting kidnapped because of my brother," she laughed, sharp and bitter. "Not your fault. I distracted him, made him human." Sophia looked at me. "He's been different since he started going to your place. Calmer, less," she gestured vaguely, "less like our father." Gio said the same thing. "Gio's perceptive." She pulled her knees up to her chest. "Our father was brilliant but brutal. He ruled through fear. Luca inherited the empire and the enemies, but he's been trying to do it differently, smarter, less violent. Until today. Until someone took what he cares about." Sophia's eyes were knowing. He'd burn the world for the people he loves. It's both his greatest strength and his worst weakness. My phone buzzed. I grabbed it so fast I almost dropped it. Luca. Alive. Wrapping up. 2 hours max. I sagged with relief. Sophia read the text over my shoulder. "See? Always okay." "What happened to your father?" I asked. Her expression went distant. "Car bomb, 4 years ago. He was meeting with another family to negotiate territory, and someone decided negotiations were pointless." She looked at me. "That's why Luca reacted the way he did when they bombed his car outside your business. It's his worst nightmare, history repeating." "I'm sorry." "Me too." She stood, stretched. "I'm going to shower. Try not to spiral into panic, okay? He'll be here soon, and then you two can have whatever dramatic reunion you're clearly building toward." She left me alone with my thoughts and my racing heart. I pulled up my business insurance paperwork on my phone, started calculating what I'd need to rebuild Breakpoint properly. The numbers were brutal. Even with insurance, if they paid, which was questionable, I was looking at 6 months minimum before I could reopen. And that was assuming my landlord didn't find a way to void the lease. My life's work, destroyed because I'd become collateral damage in someone else's war. I should be furious at Luca. Instead, I kept replaying the moment he'd said I would burn everything we've both built over her. Like it was a fact, not a threat. The door opened. Luca walked in, and my heart stopped. He was covered in dust and what looked like blood. Not his, I hoped. And his shirt was torn. But he was alive and whole and looking at me like I was the only thing in the room. "You didn't stay in the car," he said. "No. You could have died. So could you." He crossed the distance between us in 3 strides and kissed me like he was drowning and I was air. I kissed him back with all the fear and relief and reckless need that had been building since the warehouse. His hands were in my hair, on my face, mapping me like he needed proof I was real. "Don't ever do that again," he growled against my mouth. "Which part? Saving your sister or not following orders?" "Both." He pulled back just enough to meet my eyes. "You took 10 years off my life when I saw you in that warehouse. You were about to trade your entire empire for me." "Yes." No hesitation. "I was." "That's insane." "Probably." His thumb brushed my cheekbone. "But I meant every word. You're worth more than territory or money or pride." "Luca, let me finish." He took a breath. "The Santoris and I reached an understanding. I keep Bridgeport. They get a share of the construction contracts. Neither of us touches Little Italy for 6 months while things cool down. And most importantly, you and Sophia are completely off limits. Anyone who violates that answers to both families. How did you get them to agree to that? His smile was sharp. I reminded them that I have information about their operations that the feds would love to see. Mutually assured destruction makes for good negotiations. So it's over? The immediate threat, yes. He brushed hair back from my face. But my world doesn't stop being dangerous. My enemies don't stop existing. And being close to me will always mean some level of risk. I know. Do you? He studied me. Because I need you to really understand what you'd be choosing. This isn't a romance novel, Tessa. It's my life. And it's dark and complicated and sometimes violent. I run a rage room, I said. I'm familiar with dark and complicated. Not like this. Maybe not. I took his face in my hands. But I'm also not some fragile thing that needs protecting from reality. I built a business from nothing in a neighborhood where half the landlords are connected to families like yours. I've handled angry drunks and vindictive exes and clients who wanted to smash more than furniture. That's different from what? From making choices with consequences, from living in a world that's not black and white. I met his eyes. You said I made you feel human. Well, you make me feel brave. Like I don't have to make myself smaller or safer or less. Like my darkness matches yours, and that's okay. His expression cracked, something vulnerable showing through. Tessa, I'm choosing this, I said firmly. I'm choosing you. With my eyes open and my heart terrified and every logical reason to run. I'm staying. He kissed me again, slower this time, deeper, with a tenderness that made my chest ache. I have a proposal, he said, when we finally came up for air. If it involves me being kept in a safe house indefinitely. It involves Breakpoint. He pulled out his phone, showed me documents. I bought your building this morning. Well, my legitimate holdings company did. Your landlord was very motivated to sell after the bomb situation. I stared. You bought the whole building, which means you don't have a landlord anymore. You have a silent partner who's very invested in seeing your business succeed. Luca, hear me out. He scrolled through more documents. I'm proposing we expand Breakpoint. Turn it into a chain. 3 locations to start. Your original spot fully rebuilt and upgraded, plus 2 new ones in neighborhoods that could use safe outlets for rage. My mind spun. That's a huge investment. I have the capital. You have the vision and the expertise. He looked at me. I'm not asking you to take my money as charity. I'm asking you to let me invest in something I believe in someone I believe in. What's the catch? No catch. You maintain full creative and operational control. I handle security, property management, and capital investment. We split profits 60-40 in your favor since you're doing the actual work. I couldn't even process it. That's an incredibly generous deal. It's a fair deal. His hand found mine. You built something that matters, Tessa. Something that helps people. I want to help you build it bigger. Not because I feel guilty, though I do, but because I've spent 6 months watching you turn rage into healing, and I want to be part of that. I looked at the documents, at the numbers that would let me rebuild bigger and better than I'd ever dreamed, at the security provisions that would keep my clients and staff safe, at the contract that genuinely gave me control. If I say yes, I said slowly, this can't be about keeping me safe or keeping me close. It has to be a real business partnership. Agreed. And I need you to promise that you won't use Breakpoint for your other business. No using it as a front, no making it a target. I promise. He squeezed my hand. Anything else? Yeah, I looked up at him. I need you to promise that if this, us, doesn't work out, the business partnership stays intact. I need to know that I'm building something that won't disappear if we implode. Something flickered in his expression, hurt, maybe, or understanding. I promise, he said quietly. The business stands regardless of what happens between us personally. I'll have my lawyers draw it up with ironclad protections. Okay, I took a breath. Then yes, let's do this. His smile was slow and devastating. Partners? Partners. He kissed me again, and this time it was celebration and promise, and the beginning of something terrifying and perfect. There's one more thing, he said against my mouth. What? I'm giving you back your Tuesday nights. I pulled back. What do you mean? I mean, I'm not coming to Breakpoint as a client anymore. His hand cupped my face. If I'm your business partner and the man in your life, I can't also be the mysterious client who pays cash and disappears. That's 3 different relationships, and we need to pick one. So you're choosing the one where I get to take you to dinner, where I get to know everything about you, not just the parts you show clients, where you get to see my world, all of it, and decide if it's something you can live with. His thumb brushed my lip. I'm choosing the relationship where I don't have to hide that I'm completely obsessed with you. My heart hammered. That's a lot of honesty. You said you wanted my truth. I did. I do. I kissed him softly. But you can still come smash things when you need to. Just, maybe not every Tuesday. And maybe tell me when you're spiraling instead of bottling it up until you need to destroy a printer. His laugh was soft and genuine. Deal. 3 weeks later, I stood in the rebuilt breakpoint and tried not to cry. The space was transformed. New reinforced glass that could survive another bomb. Hopefully never tested. State-of-the-art safety equipment. 3 smash rooms instead of 2, each with better soundproofing and ventilation. A small office area where I could actually do paperwork without sitting on crates. And in the corner, a framed photo, the original breakpoint sign, salvaged from the wreckage, hung next to the new one. You kept it, I said. Luca appeared behind me, his arms sliding around my waist. You built something from nothing once. Seemed right to remember where you started. I leaned back against him, let myself feel the solid warmth of him, the steady beat of his heart. The past 3 weeks had been chaos. Insurance adjusters, police follow-ups, construction crews, contract negotiations, and late nights where Luca and I mapped out the expansion while learning each other's bodies and boundaries. It hadn't been easy. We'd fought about security measures and business decisions, and the fact that he still tried to protect me from parts of his world I insisted on seeing. But we'd also laughed, planned, built something together that was bigger than either of us alone. The grand reopening is tomorrow, I said. Nervous? Terrified. I turned in his arms. What if no one comes? What if they're too scared because of the bombing? They'll come. He kissed my forehead. You help people, Tessa. They won't forget that. And if the Santoris won't happen, we have an understanding. And I have enough security on this place to make the Pentagon jealous. I looked up at him, this beautiful, dangerous man who'd walked into my business 6 months ago and quietly upended my entire world. Thank you, I said, for believing in this. In me. Always. His smile was soft. Though I should probably thank you too. For what? For teaching me that breaking things doesn't have to mean destroying them. His hand slid into my hair. That rage can be transformed instead of weaponized. That I don't have to be what my father was. You were never going to be your father. Maybe, but you made me sure of it. He kissed me slowly, thoroughly. You gave me a place to put the anger without becoming it. That's no small thing. I kissed him back, tasting promise and future and the strange, perfect collision of his darkness and mine. So what happens now, I asked when we finally pulled apart. Now? He glanced around the rebuilt space. Now you open tomorrow and prove to everyone that Breakpoint is stronger than ever. You start scouting locations for the expansion. You live your life and build your empire. And you? I'm right here. His arms tightened, watching you turn rage into healing, being your partner in business and everything else. Maybe, eventually, being more than that. More than business partner and boyfriend. If you'll have me, his expression turned serious. I know it's early. I know we're still figuring this out. But I need you to know this isn't temporary for me, Tessa. You're not a phase or a fascination. You're the person I want to build something permanent with. My breath caught. That's intense? Probably. Too much? Maybe. He cupped my face. But I've spent my whole life managing expectations and measuring words. With you, I don't want to do that. I want to be honest about what I feel. Which is? That I'm completely in love with you. He said it simply, like it was obvious. That I have been since about the 3rd Tuesday, when you made a joke about corporate rage and looked at me like I was a person, not a threat. Tears pricked my eyes. Luca, you don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. I love you too, I said, and watched his expression transform. I probably have since you carried me to safety covered in dust and blood and looked at me like I mattered more than your war. He kissed me again, and it was different this time. Not desperate or claiming, but certain. A promise of futures and partnership and choosing each other every day, even when it was complicated. When we finally pulled apart, I looked around the rebuilt space, my space, our investment, the physical proof that destruction didn't have to be permanent. Think we can actually pull this off? I asked. The business partnership and the relationship and navigating your world without losing ourselves? Honestly, he smiled. I think we already are. And standing there in the ruins transformed, in the space where people came to break things safely and leave stronger, I believed him. I'd built a business where people could smash junk instead of lives. And I'd found a man who understood that rage and healing weren't opposites. They were partners, just like us. The grand reopening was tomorrow, but tonight I let Luca Morello, Mafia boss, business partner, the man who'd brought chaos and then helped me rebuild something better, pull me close in the space we'd created together. And for the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Breaking things, building things, loving someone despite every logical reason not to. Living a life that was messy and complicated and perfectly, dangerously mine. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe so you don't miss the next Mafia love story. And tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Your feedback really helps me make these even better for you. Thank you for letting my stories keep you company. It truly means more than you know.